Yo, what's up guys? Rackals here. Sorry for not uploading for like 7 months. I got married and divorced twice, but obviously that's not very interesting, so let's just get right back into some good old-fashioned Quakecraft. It's good to be back. So since I've been gone, there has actually been like a few things that have changed Quake-wise and just like server-wise. First of all, Quake, they actually added a new railgun into the winter event shop, which is super cool. They haven't done that in years. I will make a separate video showcasing that, talking about it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure the last railgun they added was 2017, so it's been a while. Unfortunately, that was basically the only thing that they've done and the only thing that they will be doing for the foreseeable future. Recently on the forums, an admin confirmed that they basically have zero plans to ever give any of the classic games another update for the foreseeable future, at least, which sucks because that update that I mentioned from 2017 where they added the new railguns was one of the last ones ever. The last actual update was like 2018, and all that really did was just cosmetics and one new map, and obviously that is now 7 years ago, which is pretty crazy to say. And coincidentally, 7 years is more than half of Quake's life cycle. Like, there was less time between Quake launching on the server to that update than there has been since that update to now. It's not shocking news that they don't have anything planned anytime soon, but it also really does suck. That being said, I don't really believe that the game needs any major overhauls. I've always been a believer that Quake as like a core game mode is just really fun. It's just really hard to get people to give it a chance and to get into it. And part of the problem is that there just is not really enough players. It's kind of paradoxical. Like, there's not enough players because there's not enough players, you know? So it doesn't make new people want to try it, and it has like a bad reputation of being too ping-based, too pay-to-win, too sweaty, yada yada yada. And of course, all of those things are true to some degree, but I think they're also true to like less of a degree than people really think that they are. Historically, a lot of the leaderboards have always been European players. Pay-to-win wise, I think the tournaments proved pretty well that all the best players are still gonna win, even if all the new players get the same amount of gear. And sweat-wise, a lot of the time it just comes down to knowing the game you're playing. I feel like it's easy for people to look at someone doing well in any game and go, oh my god, he's trying so hard, he's sweating buckets, while on the other hand, the player that's being called out is just playing casually. It just, like I said, happens to be that they know the map, they know the game more than the player who's doing the accusating, the calling out of sweating, etc, etc. And that's not to say that these things aren't problems. Like I said, I do think that there are things that could be done to help remedy these things, and there has been some update proposals made. I do plan on making a video covering that at some point, as well as just some of my own thoughts. But I am very curious to hear what sort of changes you guys would be interested in, and that's coming from the perspective both of people who do play Quake and people who don't. What sort of things would you like to see changed in the game? I would be pretty curious to hear. Now, this announcement saying that there is no future updates came at a bad time because we also got news on Quake Duels for the first time since 2021. For those of you who maybe don't remember, it got soft announced basically. Like the admins confirmed it, even though it wasn't officially stated in the Duels update thread from 2021, that Quake Duels was planned to be coming, but they didn't have time to finish it before the update, but that they were planning on releasing it soon, and they really just needed maps and stuff. And now, 3 years later, after basically complete radio silence on the matter, we finally got an update, and it is that Quake Duels will not be coming. So these two announcements happening within a week of each other really kind of stung. If we aren't going to get an update to the main game, Quake Duels would be pretty much the only chance we have of getting any sort of update or new content related to the game. And so a lot of people disagreed with that when the admin made the announcement. It got a lot of downvotes, a lot of replies asking why or stating that they were really excited, including my own reply. And apparently there was so much noise about it that they actually went back on that, which is kind of nice. Now, that's not to say that it will 100% be coming, but following the backlash, they basically said that we now plan to hopefully include it with our upcoming Duels update, which should happen sometime mid-2025. Alongside this update, they're also planning on adding a Bedwars Duels mode and a Spleef Duels mode. Now, basically, Nitroholic, the admin who was in charge of that last Duels update, at some point did say that the mode was done and that they only needed maps, but they did in this thread clarify that that's just not really true at all. They basically said that while there was code done for the game mode, it was not really tested, it was full of bugs, and it just didn't really function as intended. And on top of that, they also said that they don't know whether any maps were actually asked for, or if they did make the request, but then the request somehow got lost internally, which I find kind of funny and like a very Hypixel thing to have happened. And so, like I said, they they do hopefully plan to include it in this upcoming update. However, there's a few things that this is hinging upon. One of them is server capacity and mode balancing. Basically, there's already a lot of modes in Duels, and they don't want to add a new one just for it to immediately die. They also need to be able to finish it before the update is supposed to happen. Like if Quake Duels is going to delay the update, they don't really want to include it. Of course, they still have to make the maps since that never happened. And they also have to make sure that players are actually interested in it. And so in my eyes, one of the best ways to help with that last bullet point is to actually just go and upvote this message or even reply to it on the forums. Because doing this sort of thing is exactly what prompted them to reconsider Quake Duels in the first place, after they saw how many people really wanted it when they announced that it wasn't going to happen. So personally, I would really appreciate it if any of you guys watching have a Hypixel forums account and could go drop a like on it or reply either or. And hopefully we will see the release of Quake Duels sometime later this year. Will it happen for sure? I don't know. Hopefully. Will it be good? I don't know. Hopefully. We have no information on how it's actually going to work. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation, like it's going to be a 1v1, first to 5 kills, first to 10 kills. What's going to happen? When it was first announced, like over 3, almost 4 years ago, I actually made a video talking about the sort of stuff I might like to see in a game mode like that, and I don't remember what I said at all. I should go watch that. Yeah, you know what? That was a pretty good video. You should go watch it after this one. Anyways, in that video, I did say I was very hesitant about it, and I think I still am, but the one thing that I will say that's changed is I feel like I like lower player queues and even 1v1s quite a bit more than I used to. I think that they absolutely still can suck. I am hesitant on one hand that it's just going to turn into like people hiding and jiggle peeking and treating it like it's Valorant, which has already become sort of a problem with new players trying Quake, is they try to treat it like it's some sort of tactical FPS shooter. And so even though that sort of gameplay doesn't necessarily get you results in regular Quake, if it's in a Duels mode, I feel like it definitely could. And I think that a lot of people who don't play regular Quakecraft are going to try the new Quake Duels mode. And if they start playing it like that, and if that's the meta, and if everyone's playing it like that, I am worried that the players who then try to play regular Quakecraft following that are just going to do that exact same thing and just annoy everybody by doing so. However, like I said, I do hope that this is going to be some people's introduction to Quake and that they then go on to try regular Quakecraft. And I also think that there's nothing wrong with treating the Duels mode like that, because it's just such a different and unique way to play Quakecraft that it's actually kind of refreshing and fun to me and to pretty much everyone who plays Quake solo. One of the main appeals is sort of how fast-paced and chaotic it is, and the Duels mode would very much go against that. And I think that that's actually a good thing, because a lot of people brought up the concern that it would just be like Quakecraft again without any major change, but I do think that it really changes the gameplay and like the dynamic of the game to warrant having its own mode like this. Now, one final thing I figured I'd mention is Bingo, because I've made quite a few videos talking about it at this point. I really enjoy Bingo on Hypixel. I've been a big advocate for it, but it will no longer be happening every single seasonal event. And this is actually a change that I agree with, which is funny because that was something I suggested should happen. There should be 4 per year, but it turns out that that's just really a lot, especially when there's so many tasks to complete. That being said, I did do all of them except for the very last one that happened, but not because I didn't like doing the Bingo anymore. It was more so just because I was busy with other things. Anyways, they have announced that not only is this only going to be happening once a year from now on, around the time of Hypixel's anniversary, which is in April, they're also going to make the cards smaller. So it's only going to be 16 tiles per card instead of 25. And there's also going to be 3 different game categories you can choose from. So instead of basically just having 3 cards for everyone, I guess there's going to be 3 different categories than just an easy card and a hard card for those. Which, funnily enough, if you decide to complete both of those for all 3 categories, you are going to have to end up doing more than with the previous system. So it'll be interesting to see how many people actually go ahead and do that. I don't know if I particularly like this. I think one of the appeals, at least to me, of doing the Bingo is that it sort of promotes players to try new modes that they hadn't tried before. Granted, I recognize that for some people that can be seen as a bad thing, but I think that most of the people who hold that opinion are probably people who are just doing Bingo for the cosmetics, like I said. So I guess for them, this is definitely a good change. It's just unfortunate because, say for example, one of the categories is shooter, which obviously should be appealing to me because, hey, I like Quakecraft. It's just a bit unfortunate because I hate Cops versus Crims, and I'm sure that would get lumped into the same category, unquestionably. And I do not want to complete like a whole Bingo card just full of a bunch of Cops versus Crims tasks. Like, I'm sorry, if I take a shot, I want the shot to end up where I'm aiming. Like, I want to be able to point my crosshair at someone, shoot, and it hits them. Maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. I guess CVC players really love the fact that you can look at a player, right click to shoot at them, and the shot just goes like basically straight up into the roof above them. Like, oh no, that's great gameplay. You know, if that gameplay gameplay is your cup of tea, if you want to die, then have to sit around AFK for 2 minutes waiting for the round to end, then thumbs up to you, man. And I genuinely mean that. Obviously, I know there's an appeal to it. It's just not for me. They said that they're also going to make certain tiles easier, which I guess is fine, and that they're going to be adding a new currency for completing the bingos, which I guess is fine. I don't know. I feel like Hypixel has a problem with making way too many currencies in like every update basically. And we already have event silver and the event shops, so why not just reward the players who complete the bingo with more silver? Because the way they currently have it, it's basically impossible to max the event shops with the amount of silver that you can receive from getting max level. I don't know why they cap it this way. Like once you reach a certain amount of silver gain in both a day and for the event overall, you can no longer gain anymore. It seems silly to me. I don't understand why they wouldn't allow you to go above that limit so that you can continue to keep buying more stuff from the shop, especially with the existence of bingo, because silver wise, there was really no point to even completing all 3 bingo cards, because say you're MVP plus or plus plus, once you were like most of the way through the second bingo tile, the medium difficulty, any further event silver that you gained literally just got evaporated into thin air because you had already reached your limit, so you just couldn't claim anymore. It was just a completely useless reward. So personally, I'm kind of against bingo bucks. I really think that they should just add more stuff to the event shops and allow you to earn more silver. I also think that part of the reason they made some of these changes, such as the 3 different categories of games and making them easier, is to try to prevent people from leaving the game before it's over. I think that the solution would just be to, instead of rewarding the bingo tile as soon as you do the activity, it's as simple as rewarding the bingo tile once the game ends or once you take like a final death, for example. They also said that they want to make bingo more visible, which is something I agree with. A lot of people had no idea that it was ever going on or that it was ever a thing, because there's very little that told you that it was a thing or that it was going on, unless you used the forums actively or happened to go to that tiny little area in the main lobby. Like that was basically all you were going to get as an official announcement, so you pretty much had to hear it from someone else. And I think this is a problem that Hypixel has with a lot of their updates. Unless you're on the forums really often, you're just never going to hear about them, and that's something that I'd probably like to discuss more in a future video as well. But for now, I'm just going to wrap things up. For those of you who have watched the end, I want to thank you guys so much for sticking with me, both through this video and also, of course, through my prolonged absence. Hopefully, I will be back for a little while before eventually disappearing once again, but I do really want to get to 6,000 subs because I've been pretty close for a while now, and so if you haven't already, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. More content coming soon. Be sure to get out there and play some Quake Craft. I've been Rackals. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.